Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I can't believe I made it just in time, right on the minute. Of course, it's our shopping day, and here we are once again in the Sprouts Farmers Market parking lot. Excuse me while I jiggle the camera here and set it up on the steering column of my 1984 Volkswagen Vanagon, whatever it is. Anyway, hello, good morning. It occurred to me this morning. For some reason, I was taken via messages on my kind of YouTube thing to one of my old songs. I mean, my really old songs that I wrote with Charlie D. Harris in the 70s, and actually starting in the 69s. And then I remembered I had a whole chapter in my book, My Life with the Spirits. And that's another synchronicity, because once again, there's interest in the title, My Life with the Spirits. It's been out since 1999 with the good folks at Weiser. And over the years, it's been optioned for film and television, because it's in installments and things like that. And there's the potential for sort of a cute, scary little mini-series of some kind. But of course, nothing ever comes of anything that I've ever tried to do, or people have tried to do for me in the realm of film. But I never stop trying. And there's currently something hanging on. I won't try to jinx it, but anyway, it's jinxed enough. Anyway, I thought I would share with you once again the chapter called Rock and Roll Rosicrucian. And I keep saying, and people keep disbelieving me, that I've never really set out to do much of anything. It's just that I seem to have been, with my life, incredibly lucky, and have sort of been in the right place at the right time. And almost the reason that I'm here at 74 years old, talking to you, alive, is because of an ongoing series of freak accidents that have conspired to put me in whatever position that I am in. And the same thing holds with my music career. And I was in a garage band. I led a garage band too in high school, and we were just lucky, okay. And we were lucky enough to actually be a working band. And even in the school years, we worked at least 2 nights a week, sometimes 3 nights a week, even during the school terms. And but we'd had to travel, 200 miles sometimes to play gigs in Kansas, Colorado, South Dakota. And but anyway, and as soon as I graduated from high school, well, I tell about it here. Well, just let me share. The chapter is called Rock and Roll Rosicrucian, and it picks up after I moved to California, let's see, maybe I can even, let's see here. Well, no. I moved to California and I accidentally, I started work almost immediately. Pretended to go to college. I was just going to college to score LSD and pretend to be an acting student. But I got jobs playing folk music in local saloons, and I sort of accidentally found myself being the opening act to my hero, Hoyt Axton, at the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, some of the biggest clubs in Southern California. Believe me, I wasn't that talented, I wasn't that good, I wasn't that anything, I was just that lucky. But anyway, I met Charles Harris, who was about 10 years older than I, and he was from Kansas, and his father owned one of these little saloons that I played in, and he was a songwriter, and we decided to pool our talents, and pool our talents meant that we got together, smoked hashish, and wrote songs. And we took some of those songs to Sam Lane Publishing in Hollywood, and we got things published. And we started playing as a duo, and our harmonies were really good, and we played our own music. Okay. But anyway, Constance and I ended up dropping out and moving up to Southern Oregon to be full-time hippies. But when we came back, okay, when we came back to California, it was only for 2 weeks, to just so I could play in a couple of saloons and make enough money to buy the materials for a little second house that we hippies were building on some property we hippies bought along the Illinois River in Tequilma. And we were really only going to, I was only going to play for 2 weeks with my old partner, Charlie, and make that money. Okay. So let me... The time we spent in Oregon was the golden age of hippiedom. We were surrounded by hardcore spiritual seekers, yogis, Buddhists, and devotional Christians. God was the centerpiece of every conversation, every meal, every diversion and pleasure. We were like an Amish community, only with a perverse sense of humor, a love of music, bright colors, and raging libidos. With expert help from our talented hippie neighbors, we completed Mark and Margaret's, that's my brother and his wife, Mark and Margaret's house in early September, and laid out plans to build another for Constance and me. As we were nearly out of money, we decided to return briefly to Southern California and raise the needed funds. I was sure I'd be able to find work singing, and if all went well, would be back in Oregon in 2 or 3 weeks. As it turned out, things went extremely well. Accidentally, okay. The first day back, I joined my old singing partner, Charlie Harris, who had secured a marvelous gig at one of the better Newport Beach eateries. It was at the Reuben E. Lee actual riverboat on Newport Harbor, right next door to the yacht where John Wayne lived. But I digress. He negotiated more money from the club and generously allowed me to share the stage. Charlie and I were pretty good. In fact, we wrote many of the songs we performed. and that fact made our cabaret act somewhat of an aberration. We sang 5 nights a week, and by the end of the second week, I had earned the fabled grub stake. We packed up the old Volkswagen bus. It was blue, just like this, a 1960 Volkswagen bus. Can you get any more hippie than that? And readied ourselves for the triumphant return to Oregon. We planned to depart immediately after my last Saturday night performance. As it turned out, we did not leave that night. Nor would we ever return to our land. It happened that, there's that picture, that's Charlie and me. Okay, that's shortly after we signed our record contract. Oh, that's me. As it happened that Charlie and I had an old drinking buddy from his father's saloon days, an old drinking buddy who had recently bought in to the music business. Perhaps I need to explain what I mean by bought into the music business. If you had a lot of money and knew a record producer, you could invest. You could give that record producer money to give you associate producer credits on the next hit that they produced. And that's just what happened here. It happened that Charlie and I had an old drinking buddy who had recently bought into the music business. He chanced to team up with a seasoned producer from Columbia Records, and together they shepherded their client to 2 #1 hits in less than 90 days. And I'm talking about, I don't mention it here, but it was the group, the Spiral Staircase. Okay, sort of a blood, sweat, and tears. And their hit records were I Love You More Today Than Yesterday, and Sweet Little Thing, and I think that was the two, but anyway, they were #1 hits. In less than 90 days, those 2 records came out. Their stock in the industry was at its zenith, and for some reason, they chose that night to get drunk and listen to Charlie and me play at that fancy restaurant. They liked our original songs and asked if we had written any others. Charlie lied and boasted we had hundreds of songs. Well, we didn't have hundreds, but I bet we had a good 50, okay? Hearing this, they asked if we would be willing to record a demo, a demonstration record. Neither Charlie nor I actually thought this was anything other than Hollywood hype. But I agreed to stay another week to see if they would deliver. So now I'm staying 3 weeks. Constance and I are staying with Charlie's girlfriend's house. Yeah. They delivered, and more. 2 days later, we drove to Sunset Boulevard and recorded a few original songs in historic Studio A at CBS. Within the week, we'd signed to record 2 singles and an album on the Epic label. Here's the footnote. We called ourselves Charlie, D, and Milo. Our first single on Epic label was Back Bay Blue. Our album, simply called Charlie, D, and Milo, did remarkably well everywhere it was distributed. It even earned Billboard magazine's spotlight pick and received good reviews. Our second single, The Word is Love, went to #1 in a handful of cities where distribution enabled it to be broadcast and purchased. Salt Lake City was one such city, and the highlight of our concert visit to that fair city was hearing it played on 2 a.m. stations simultaneously. That was The Word is Love. You can still find it. Okay, we recorded 2 singles and an album on the Epic label, joined the obligatory unions, and signed with the William Morris Agency. It was an adolescent's dream come true. Charlie and I and everyone who knew us were stunned. It was now our turn to deliver all those songs we said we'd written. Realizing that we were philosophical lightweights with very little to say, we nonetheless chose to take the high road and channel the themes of our songs by flipping through the pages of an occult dictionary and picking a word or phrase at random. We wrote of sylphs and gnomes and undines and white goose feet. We thought it was all very heavy. Even our publisher got caught up with the magic music and renamed his company Hazel Wand Publishing. Now this morning I posted the entire Charlie D and Milo album on my Facebook page, so just scroll down once. If you're interested in hearing the entire album, you can listen to it on my page today. For the next 4 years, Charlie and I played, sometimes quite successfully, at being recording artists and musicians. We traveled everywhere our songs received radio play. And we were the opening acts for far more recognizable names. A few of our songs were picked up and recorded by other groups, and we garnered more than our share of collateral studio work. Now, part of when I said we thought it was all very heavy, how we wrote our songs, the footnote has clips from some of the lyrics. My own eye me mirror be. Neophyte he turn the key. Paradoxically I weep to laugh. That was from our song, The Theme from Mount Oread. And where it says collateral studio work, the footnote says, 60s recording star Johnny Rivers saw us performing at Hollywood's Troubadour and liked our song Movin' to the Country, so much that he recorded it on his next album, Homegrown. Charlie and I and our lead guitarist joined him on that session. About the same time, I went Hollywood after I was accidentally accepted at the Lee Strasberg Film and Theatrical Institute. For over a year, I was inexplicably privileged to study with that great master and his team of unforgettable character actors. That's that footnote. Okay. Predictably, Charlie and I fell prey to the excesses that accompanied such lifestyles in the early 70s. And it became more and more obvious that I was soon going to have to make a decision about my future as a holy man. In spite of the craziness, Constance and I decided we wanted a baby. Our son, Jean-Paul, was born toward the end of this wild and unhealthy season of my life. His arrival made it clear that the stable world of a hippie musician was not going to be conducive to a family life. I decided to get out of the business and take my chances in the real world. For the next 10 years or so, I didn't do a very good job of it. While trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up, my brother Mark encouraged me to join him in the Rosicrucian order Amorc, A-M-O-R-C. He said they were like mystic Freemasons. I took his advice, and with the United States Postal Service as my psychopomp, I took the first initiatory step into the Western mysteries. My employment and my financial difficulties would not get better for a long time, but my spiritual life was about to explode. And that's the chapter Rock and Roll Rosicrucian from My Life with the Spirits. Now, from the beautiful parking lot of Sprouts Farmers Market, near the magnificent Land Park and the Sacramento Zoo, I bid you a good morning. And I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.